Hey everyone, and welcome back. Whether you are getting ready for the UPSC or just want to know more about how India works, we are going to deep dive into something really important. The National Commission for Scheduled Castes.
The NCSC.
Yeah, the NCSC. I was doing a little research, and honestly,
Yeah.
I had no idea how much power this commission has. Like, it even has some of the authority of a court.
It's true. The NCSC is a really unique body, and for understanding how India tries to ensure social justice,
Right.
especially for scheduled castes, getting a handle on its evolution and functions and powers is key.
It's not like it just kind of showed up overnight.
Right.
The sources show this whole process starting from just one single officer.
Yeah, it's a really interesting evolution.
Wow.
Initially, Article 338 of the Constitution established a special officer for both scheduled castes and scheduled tribes.
Right?
And their role was to investigate how well safeguards for these communities were working and report back to the president.
One person for two of India's most marginalized communities.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I can already see a potential essay question here for the UPSC folks. How has the government's approach to safeguarding SC rights evolved over time?
That's a really great point, and you can see that evolution happening. By 1978, a multi-member commission for SCs and STs was set up.
Oh, wow.
This wasn't a statutory body. At first, it ran alongside the special officer. Then in 1987, it became the National Commission for SCs and STs.
But then the big change was the 65th Amendment in 1990.
Exactly.
Right. That's when it got some real power.
That's when it got its teeth. The 65th Amendment made the commission a constitutional body,
Okay.
directly enshrined in the Constitution. It replaced both the single special officer and the previous commission, but it doesn't end there.
Oh.
The 89th Amendment in 2003 created separate commissions for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, recognizing their unique challenges.
Okay, so we went from one person to
Right.
a combined commission and finally to separate constitutionally mandated bodies.
Yes.
That really shows how much more emphasis there is now on protecting these communities.
Absolutely. This shift really shows a deepening commitment to social justice in India. And this is where understanding the difference between constitutional and statutory bodies comes in.
Yeah, and the NCSC is different from other national commissions, like the National Commission for Women or the National Human Rights Commission.
Right.
Why is that?
It all comes down to its authority. The NCSC derives its power directly from the Constitution,
Right.
specifically Article 338, whereas other commissions are established by acts of Parliament.
So it's like the Constitution itself is saying, hey, protecting the rights of scheduled castes is so important, we're creating this special body with its own set of powers.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, but what does the NCSC actually do?
Yeah.
The sources outline 6 core functions.
The commission has a broad and powerful mandate.
Okay.
Its main function is to investigate and monitor everything related to safeguards for scheduled castes. They're making sure those safeguards are actually being implemented.
So they're like watchdogs, making sure that the rights and protections guaranteed to scheduled castes are actually being upheld.
Precisely.
Okay.
They can investigate complaints of discrimination or atrocities or any violation of rights. In fact, they can conduct inquiries and summon witnesses and demand evidence, much like a civil court.
Wait, so the NCSC has the power of a court.
It does.
That's a big deal.
It is. This quasi-judicial power is what really allows the NCSC to make a difference.
I see.
Imagine someone is denied a job because of their caste. They can go to the NCSC and the commission can investigate with the same authority as a court.
Wow.
They can force people to cooperate, demand evidence, and even punish those found guilty.
Okay, so they investigate and have this court-like authority, but what else? What other functions are important?
Besides investigations and inquiries, the NCSC also has a key role in planning and evaluating socio-economic development programs for scheduled castes. They advise the government on policies
Right.
and assess how effective those programs are in actually uplifting these communities.
So it's not just about responding to problems. It's about trying to improve the lives of scheduled castes.
Yes.
They're analyzing data, looking at the impact of government programs,
Right.
making recommendations.
Exactly. And all of this is in a detailed annual report to the president, which is then tabled in Parliament.
Okay.
This report covers the status of safeguards, the progress of development programs, and any recommendations for improvement.
That's a lot.
They can also submit special reports whenever they need to.
Okay, but reports are only good if someone acts on them.
Yeah.
How does the NCSC make sure the government takes their recommendations seriously?
That's where the action taken memorandum comes in. When the president presents the NCSC's report to Parliament, It has to include this memo detailing the steps the government has taken based on the recommendations.
Oh, okay.
And explaining why any recommendations weren't implemented.
So there's this system of accountability.
Yes.
But, and this is for everyone listening, especially our UPSC folks.
Right.
Does this actually guarantee accountability? Are there any loopholes? Could the government just ignore the recommendations without actually doing anything?
Those are the real questions, and they highlight how complex it is to ensure that institutions like the NCSC actually have the power to change things. It's something we all need to think about.
For sure. And believe me, we're going to keep digging into this as we continue our deep dive.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the NCSC's responsibility to hold the government accountable.
Right.
But what's really fascinating is that the commission itself almost acts like a court.
Yeah, the source is really focused on those quasi-judicial powers.
Right.
It's not just about making suggestions. They can actually summon witnesses, demand documents, and record evidence under oath.
Exactly.
That's serious authority.
It is, and it's super important for how effective they are. It means they can investigate complaints just as thoroughly as a civil court, which makes a huge difference when it comes to protecting scheduled caste rights.
So it's like a court that only deals with issues related to scheduled caste rights. Like, say, someone's denied a promotion because of their caste.
Exactly.
They can go to the NCSC and the commission can investigate.
They can make people cooperate, provide evidence, and face consequences if they broke the law. It's about making sure those safeguards for scheduled castes have real power.
This is a really important point for our UPSC folks.
Yeah.
Understanding how much power the NCSC has is key for those exams.
Definitely.
But it also shows how seriously the Constitution takes the issue of protecting scheduled caste rights.
Absolutely. It's not just symbolic. It has real power to make things right in people's lives.
Do you have any examples of how these quasi-judicial powers have actually made a difference?
Oh, there are a lot of cases where the NCSC stepped in and made sure justice was served. One that comes to mind involved a Dalit student who was denied admission to a university just because of his caste.
That's terrible. What happened?
The student complained to the NCSC and they did a whole investigation. They brought in witnesses, looked at documents, and in the end, they found enough evidence of discrimination to order the university to let the student in.
Wow. So they actually reversed the decision and made sure the student got a fair chance.
Exactly. It shows how much power they have.
And this is just one example.
Yeah. The NCSC has helped in so many cases dealing with things like land rights and discrimination in jobs and access to public services and even violence against scheduled castes.
So it's not just about reacting to individual complaints, but also trying to fix systemic issues.
Right.
The sources mention suo moto, which I think means they can start investigations on their own.
You got it.
Yeah.
They don't have to wait for a complaint. They can act on their own based on news reports or information from other places, or even if they see a pattern of discrimination.
It sounds like they can really get a lot done. But all this power, it makes you wonder about accountability.
Right.
How do we know the NCSC is doing the right thing?
That's a good question, and something people talk about a lot. As we said before, the annual reports and the action taken memo provide some accountability.
Okay.
Parliament, the president, and the public can all look at what the commission is doing and what they recommend.
But is that enough? Are there loopholes that let the commission operate without enough oversight? Could politicians influence them?
Those are all good points. One problem is that even though the NCSC's recommendations are important, they're not legally binding. The government could just ignore them and not face any legal consequences.
So they can investigate and make decisions like a court.
Yes.
But their recommendations don't have the same power as a court order.
That's right. The action taken memo requires the government to explain why they might not follow a recommendation.
Okay.
But there's no guarantee those reasons will be good enough, and there's no punishment for not complying.
That's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
What can be done to make the NCSC more accountable? Could their recommendations be given more power? Should there be a separate group to watch over them?
These are all important questions that people are discussing about the NCSC and its relationship with the government. Some people think giving the commission more independence and power would make them better at fighting discrimination, while others worry about them having too much power and interfering with the government.
So it's about finding the right balance, making sure they have the power to protect scheduled caste rights, but also preventing them from abusing that power. It makes you think, is the NCSC a success? Has it actually done what it was created to do?
It's not a simple answer. There's no doubt the NCSC has done a lot to address discrimination, give people a way to complain and advocate for the well-being of scheduled castes.
Right.
They've helped people get justice and influence policies that try to help these communities.
But there are still problems.
Of course.
Caste-based discrimination and violence still happen.
Yeah.
Which means there's still a lot of work to do.
You're absolutely right. The NCSC's success isn't just about what they do, it's about a change in society as a whole. Getting rid of deep-rooted prejudices and inequalities is a much bigger fight. The Commission can be a powerful tool for change, but it needs the support of the government and civil society and people who are committed to building a fair and just society.
So where do we go from here? The NCSC can't do it all alone. What can regular people do to be part of this change? How can we go beyond just understanding the issues and actually do something to fight caste-based discrimination?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, right? We talked this whole time about the NCSC and what it can do and can't do.
Yeah.
But it's really just one part of something much bigger.
Exactly. For real change, for lasting change, we have to change how we think about casterists. We have to get rid of those deep prejudices that are still in society.
It seems like a lot. Where do we even start?
I think education and awareness are really important. We have to understand caste and acknowledge those biases and be ready to challenge discriminatory attitudes when we see them.
It's about being willing to have tough conversations and calling out casteism, even when it seems casual, and learning about the reality of discrimination.
That's it. We can't be silent. We have to speak up, challenge it, and support those who are being marginalized.
And this awareness needs to start early.
Yeah.
We need to teach our kids about equality, empathy, and respecting everyone no matter who they are.
Absolutely. These values need to be everywhere, in our schools, our homes, our everyday lives. That's how we build a better society.
So education is important.
Yeah.
But what about actually doing something? What can people do to make a real difference?
There are so many ways to help. You can support groups that are working to empower scheduled caste communities.
Right.
You can volunteer your time or donate to programs focused on things like education, healthcare, or economic development for these communities.
I think we should use whatever platform we have, whether it's social media or talking to people, to raise awareness.
Yes.
And push for policy changes and actively challenge discrimination.
And don't forget about your vote. Support politicians who really care about social justice and prioritize the rights of marginalized communities.
So we need to do a lot of things. Change minds, take action, hold those in power accountable.
Right.
Realize that fighting for equality is everyone's responsibility.
Exactly. And remember, this isn't about just checking things off a list or feeling like we did something good. It's about making a society where everyone has a chance to succeed, to live their best life, and to have dignity and respect.
And that's good for everyone. Inequality and discrimination hurt everyone in the end.
Yeah.
By working for a just and fair world,
Yeah.
we're not just helping others.
Yeah.
We're creating a better future for ourselves and for the future.
I completely agree. And this fight for social justice, it never really ends.
Right.
It needs us to be aware and to keep working and to challenge the way things are.
Yeah.
But a society where everyone is valued and respected is worth it.
So as we finish up our deep dive into the National Commission for Scheduled Castes,
Yeah.
I hope you're leaving with more than just facts and figures.
Me too.
The NCSC is important for change.
Absolutely.
But the real change happens when we all believe in equality and justice and actively fight against the things that continue to marginalize scheduled caste communities.
Remember, knowledge is power. Use what you've learned today to talk to people, challenge biases, and fight for a better world. Because the fight for equality starts with each of us.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back with another interesting topic. Until then, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep working for a better world.